What's the latest rate? When does the latest race start?
Power Share starts this afternoon around 2:30, and then tomorrow the 500 starts at 3. So the Power Shares will be done just about dark if everything goes good, and the Daytona 500 will go into a little bit. We'll have lights on by the end of the race.
What's the weather like, Terry?
It's actually a little overcast right now, and that's a disappointment because there's these little things called Thunderbirds supposed to be flying around, and we're hoping for clear blue skies, but the sun's cooking through. This is we've had a morning fog here for a while, but it's shirt sleeve weather. We're pushing 68, 70 degrees. I think we'll be up to 80s before the day's over with. I think they're looking at a little cooler tomorrow, but not much. When I say a little cooler, I'm talking 75. So it's perfect weather for racing. It has been. Weather's not been an issue. It's just a wonderful time to be at Daytona International Speedway. And there's still tickets for sale. Heard you better get them now because it did sell out last year, and this is the 60th running. And that's another thing, just the old history of this race.
Well, 60 years is a long time, and of course, it's been reborn over the past, I'd say the past 3 or 4 years, especially with the new stadium there. And I understand that there are other tracks that are going to have some improvements along the way, in addition to the Daytona track.
Yes, that's true. They've set the standard here, so you've got to start doing something just to even compare. It's amazing, the stadium. I actually watched the trucks last night from up in the stadium, up on the 3rd level, and the view is awesome. You can see the trucks everywhere on track, and I did have to pay $1 for that, saying cars last night on the air when we were talking about it. But
okay, well, go ahead. A quick question.
It was an awesome race. What was cool about the trucks is there was a few accidents. There was a lot of should-have-beens. These things get sideways and squirrely, and that spoiler sticks up, and they get them straightened back out. So it was a fun race, and Johnny Sauter won last night, and that's just so much fun seeing these guys come out. That was his 3rd Daytona truck race win, and that's a record in itself. And that's what Daytona's about, is setting records.
Oh, no question about it. Record with attendance as well. So your your gut with regard to who's going to win the 500?
Bobby, you do this to me, and I try to tell the guys on air, I hope they're not listening because I don't want anybody to know, okay?
Yes.
But I hope Alex Bowman, I think, in that 88 car, here's his opportunity. He's driven this car before. He's part of this team. He's more comfortable probably than any, quote, new driver in a car. And I think that car, the 88, we know what it can do with Dale Jr. in it. I don't think you're going to see much less with Alex Bowman in it. I think that's a car to watch, and he's proven it already. He's got some ability, and sitting on the front row, it doesn't get much better than that.
Well, can't wait for the afternoon to unfold, and especially tomorrow for the 60th running of the Daytona 500. Terry Savison, sure appreciate your time, and I'll let you get back to the fun, and we'll perhaps join you one of these days. But in the meantime, really appreciate the update there live from Daytona.
Thanks a lot, Bobby. Appreciate it. And 93.5 FM, 1150 AM at 1150 WNDB Twitter account. Come on out to the track or follow us, but download the WNDB app, Bobby. We got it covered.
Got it. Thank you, Terry. Well, folks, that's just exciting. Really, it really is exciting at all that goes on down there. So let's take another trip from Daytona Beach to New York and take a call from Donald. Donald, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us this morning.
Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
I haven't heard anything, and I wondered if you know if there are any statistics on how long the Prius batteries last.
Well, it's funny you should ask that because our producer, Fabio, has a Prius, and at 200,000 miles, Fabio, just under 200. And what year is your Prius?
It's an '04 model.
An '04 model. And what symptoms did you have when your battery failed? And did it catch you by surprise and put you down, or did it ease its way into failure?
No, it caught me by surprise. I was driving home and the dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. And it's funny because this same thing happened again, and I took it to Toyota and the battery died again, but I have a warranty on it.
Really?
Yep. That's the issue I was having that I was texting you about.
So what the shop thought was an inverter, the other shop thought was an inverter,
right,
was actually the Toyota battery that was replaced with a Toyota battery?
I don't know if I think it was an aftermarket battery that was put in it.
Did you have to pay for that?
Not for the replacement, no.
Okay.
Yep.
So Donald, there you have it. And Fabio's cars, the 04, and it's 200,000 miles. But I have to say that the battery, when EVs first came out, I mean, 97, the Prius came out, and the first thing that I thought about was, okay, let's fast forward to the repair side, and let's look at, say, a 100,000 mile used car. And because internal combustion engines, ICEs, are so well made these days, and the tolerances are so tight, that 100,000 miles is really like midlife. I mean, it's not even a big deal with any regular maintenance at all, and good driving. The 200,000 miles is the norm. So what I thought was, this is back in '97. Gosh, let's take a car that has 100, and we thought the battery would be bad at 100,000 miles, because that's what the expectations, as I remember. I said, well, what if you took every used car on the road, and you had to put a $4,000 or a $5,000 used engine or a battery, quote unquote, in that vehicle? Just think of the used cars that flood the market with old has-beens, cars that won't run. And then I thought about the caveat to that, which would be, what a great opportunity for remanufacturers to take those bad batteries and make a replacement battery that didn't cost $4,000 or $5,000 but cost $2,500. And lo and behold, that indeed is what happened. But if you look at fast forward again, the need for those batteries is not as severe as I thought it would be, because those batteries are lasting twice as long as we all thought. What's your take? Any questions?
Well, I was just curious, and you said the new ones cost $4,000 to $5,000.
Well, that's what they were listed for in '97. Like $3,800, $4,200 for a new battery assembly. Now, I don't know what the Tesla battery. The Tesla uses, I think, 6,000 or 7,000 little tiny cells the size of your index finger. They're a little bit larger than a AA battery, and there are 6,000 or 9,000. I can't remember. I think it's 6,800 of those batteries, and it's also been said during this evolution that, well, you can take your car to a shop if it's an EV and you need a battery. All the batteries aren't bad. Well, yeah, that's right. And they make them cellularized so that you can pluck out the bad cell and replace the bad cell. The challenge with that is these are sealed batteries, so you have to break that seal, and then there are cooling devices to cool the battery. So having been in the service business all my life, I would not want to be responsible for replacing one or two cells. Well, I don't mean one or two batteries, but say 40 batteries out of 6,000. I wouldn't want to be responsible, because you know that if 40 batteries are bad today, next month or next 6 months, that same customer is going to come back in and say, hey, I have the same symptom. Well, yeah, this is a different battery. Doesn't matter. I have the same symptom. I've got a battery issue. So I would not repair an existing battery, because that is an art in and of itself.
Do you think they will last as long too as the Prius batteries, or do they have any idea?
I think so. I don't think that battery is a real issue at all. And I think that's going to open up another market for another retail industry, and that will save money and earn its way, just like all retail facilities do. There's a need, you fill the need, and then there's competition, because once I fill the need, then Tom, Dick, and Harry does it. Next thing you know, we're all competing with each other, and the consumer gets the benefit because there's competition. It's a good old American economics, really. So there you go, Donald. Any questions? Well, we got a break coming up here. Missed you. Coming up, though, don't miss this. We have Dr. Andrew Randolph from Daytona Beach.
You won't want to miss the President's Day sale going on now through Monday, February 19th at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. Find incredible sale prices on the products you use most. Stock up and save big on appearance items, tools, chemicals, oil and filter specials, and more. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Today's vehicles have more than 150 electrical accessories for safety, comfort, and sustainability, 7 times the number 20 years ago. Only AGM batteries are precision engineered to meet this electrical demand by reliably supporting backup cameras, start-stop technology, and many other devices. AGM batteries have longer life than standard flooded batteries and will not spill acid during installation or during an accident. When you need a new battery, insist on an AGM battery to meet today's evolving electrical needs. Folks, being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can put strains on your vehicle. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. This time of year, it's smart to check tread depth before driving on icy roads, and you may want to consider special winter tires. Check tire pressure weekly during the winter, as every 10-degree drop in temperature causes a 1-pound decrease in tire pressure. Check your exhaust system for carbon monoxide leaks, as windows are more likely to be closed during this time of year. It's also a great idea to keep your gas tank half full, as this will help avoid moisture buildup in the gas lines, which could ultimately freeze this time of year. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100.
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today. Interesting questions about EVs and batteries, and also great to hear from Daytona, Terry Sabiston, our affiliate there in WNDB in Daytona. And speaking of Daytona, this is a huge weekend, and a gentleman that we're going to be talking with now, I've known for quite some time. And just to give you a little background, Dr. Andy Randolph, Stanford University, Business Management, 1998 to present, University of Texas at Austin, Bachelor of Science, a BS in Chemical Engineering, Northwestern University, Doctor of Philosophy, PhD in Chemical Engineering, advanced engine development with General Motors for 12 years, left there and went with Hendrick Motorsports for 7 years, and for the past 10 years has been with Earnhardt Childress Racing, and he is the technical director and the director of architecture for the Chevrolet engines right there, and he's live with us from Daytona Beach. I'm sure we all know what he's doing in Daytona. Andy, it's great to have you on the air with me again.
Yeah, good morning, Bobby. Nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, how have you been, and how's the track in Daytona, and how are your cars? How many engines do you have on the track for your team and or in other cars?
Well, we will have at the Cup level this weekend, we will have 11 engines. So the more we have, I guess, the more likely we have to win, right?
Well, you would think so. You would hope so. So who's driving the Earnhardt Childress cars?
Boy, you put me to a test here, having to name all 11 drivers.
Well,
let's just assume it's going to be the ones up front. They're all Chevrolets. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful weekend in Daytona. We were actually down here 3 weeks ago doing the 24 Hours of Daytona race, which fortunately went very well for us. And we're hoping to carry the momentum from that success into the Daytona 500 this weekend.
Andy, the engine that you built the engines that you built for the race 3 weeks ago. What difference between that engine and then the 500 engine?
Oh, very different. Those are sports car racing engines. They're more stock based. It's the small block Chevy engine that's used in Chevrolets and in some Cadillacs. And actually, it was the Cadillac Marquis that we were carrying at the 24 Hours of Daytona. That's an all aluminum engine. It has some excellent technology in it to make it more race worthy, but it is really a production based engine, as opposed to the engines that are in stock cars. It's kind of interesting that they're called stock cars because there's really nothing stock about them anymore. But
sure.
It is a race-specific engine. Every single part on it is designed for racing and specifically for racing.
So to that end, I guess the goal for a 500-mile race is to have an engine that will run wide open, flat out, maximum horsepower for 500 miles and maybe 2-3 miles.
Yes, we like to have that extra cushion of 3 miles so that we can successfully complete the victory lane lap. But this year is actually a little different than we've ever had to do there before, in that we've always been able to install a fresh engine right before the race, so that, like you said, the engine had to last for just the 500 miles plus whatever extra you want to run afterwards. The rules have changed this year, mostly economically driven, that we have to use the same engine all week long. So that includes all the qualifying sessions, practice, qualifying races. So therefore, now our engines will have to last for maybe a little bit over 800 miles, which doesn't seem like a lot. Certainly in your passenger car, you'd be pretty upset if your engine only lasts 800 miles. But understand, like you were saying, that these engines have to run at full throttle. I mean, your foot is to the floor basically for 4 hours straight. And if you were to try to do that in your passenger car, you probably wouldn't be able to make it 800 miles either. So it is a tough, demanding schedule that we have to put up with.
So, Andy, when you're designing engines, and I presume that every week and after every race, you take the engines that won or lost. I mean, you take all the engines and take those back to the shop and take those engines apart. What are you looking for?
Well, we're looking for any signs of wear, any signs of heat or wear, because they are kind of related. And we look at every single part when we take them apart, because the object is to find something that maybe is showing signs of distress and being able to fix it before you have a catastrophic failure at the track. So yes, we're looking at every single, particularly the rotating and reciprocating parts. We're looking at them in great detail, a lot of times microscopically, looking at the surface and the structure and to seeing if there's anything going on, even metallurgically, that might eventually lead to a catastrophic failure in the engine.
And can you control speaking of metallurgy, can you control the composition of the metal? And I know that's probably a provider that gives you that metal, but you ever get a bad batch?
Oh, yeah. And really, that's one of the main differences between a race-specific engine and a production car engine is they're very similar architecturally if you just look at them. But when you start looking in detail at the parts, where we're able to, if we don't have to put a restrictor plate, which limits airflow through these engines to reduce airflow, we make about 850 horsepower out of these engines. And the reason that we can make so much relative to what you'd have in a street engine has to do with the materials, the tolerances, the surface finishes, and the coatings that we put on the individual parts. So the parts are all very similar to what you have in a production engine. It's just the specifics of the design and how we implement them that makes it where we can achieve those power levels.
I understand that a short time ago, I think it was a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, when NASCAR changed the lifters from flat tappet to roller. And as I remember, you explained to me, and folks get this, a lifter, of course, it rides on the cam and opens and pushes the push rod and opens through the rocker the valves. And of course, at say 10,000 RPM or 9,500 RPM, that's, Andy, what, 75 times a second?
Yes.
And as I understand, and I'll quote you, but you correct me if I'm wrong, the roller was 30 grams heavier than a flat tappet. So that had to change. You had to change the profile of the cam, and you had to change the engineering to get that to last for the 500 miles. Is that still the same lifter and the same rule in effect today for 800 miles?
Yes, it is. And one of the tools that we have available to us when we're developing the engine is a high-speed video. I don't know if you've ever seen a video of say, a projectile going through an apple or a glass breaking, or how incredible it is when you watch something in super slow motion.
Sure.
we'll take a very high-speed camera and photograph some of the parts in these engines. And when you see how much they bend and distort and what happens to them under the loads that they experience, it scares you to death. After you watch it, you're saying to yourself, well, I'm not sure I really wanted to see that.
So in an engine, and not to get technical, but in an engine, there has to be flexibility, because without flexibility, there's breakage. But I remember from the Hemis, the stroker Hemi that I built, our biggest challenge was valve springs. We run 10 runs, and then we have to change valve springs. Well, you don't have that option, but you're out there this weekend, 800 miles. How does a valve spring live for 800 miles? And then if it's soft and malleable, how does it maintain pressure for 800 miles?
Well, that is the most problematic part of these engines. And for your listeners who watch these races or listen to these races, generally when you hear them say a car is down a cylinder, that means that one of those valve springs is broken. And sometimes it can continue to run down one cylinder. Sometimes when it breaks, it'll drop a valve, or a piece of the engine will go into the combustion chamber, break a piston, and then you'll have a catastrophic failure. But quite often you can run quite some time with one of the valve springs broken. So the key when you're designing these engines, one of the keys is how you design the valve train, how much valve lift you try to get and how high of engine speed you can turn. And we actually, in a laboratory environment, will sit there and run these races over and over and over again, studying different valve spring compositions and designs, trying to make sure we have one that will make race distance without failure before we ever go to a track.
Right. So you push that limit. You get a half horsepower, and then you get another half horsepower, and next thing you know, you've got 2 extra horsepower you didn't have 2 weeks ago or 2 iterations ago. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And believe it or not, when we're talking about 850 horsepower engines, we do look for power increments in 2 or 3 tenths gains, because these things have been so refined over so many years that's really the level of detail that you have to get your gains in. But like you said, when you get enough of them, it adds up to making the difference between winning or finishing second. And anything less than winning is losing, right?
Absolutely. We're talking with Andrew Randolph, the technical director for Earnhardt Childress Racing. And before I let you go, Andrew, what's next? I mean, what's a day like for you? And is it in the lab every day running engines and managing the team technicians?
Yeah, the year can really be divided up into 2 segments. Now we started racing, and we race virtually every weekend. So we'll have between the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, road racing, we'll be putting 20 or 30 engines out there every week. Over the course of the year, we'll do 600 or more engines that we'll build. So you kind of get into this production mode. Once the season ends around Thanksgiving, we have all the resources in our shop, which is over 100 people, to work solely on how to make the engines make more power and last longer and be more reliable. So we've had that period from, say, December 1st until middle of February. Now we're transitioning back into this production phase where it's more of a maintenance, look at the parts, make sure, fine-tuning, and then we won't get into the heavy development again until we get towards the end of the season.
Wow. Always something, and always moving forward. Andy, great to have you on the air, and thanks for sharing information that will, I think, help our listeners better understand not only the challenges, but how their engine can be better just because of individuals like you and your team at Earnhardt Childress Racing. And when you kick it up a notch, sometimes that notch is too far, and folks, he'll lose an engine, and then you go back to find out what caused that engine to go bad or to destruct itself, self-destruct, and you fix that problem, and next thing you know, you've got a bulletproof engine. So here's 2 bulletproof engines designed and architected by you and your team at Earnhardt Childress Racing, and I hope you or your associates or your choice, whatever they be, whoever that may be, win the 500 this weekend.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, one thing you said, just to add one thing for your listeners, one of the reasons why the manufacturers support racing and support these series is because we're pushing these parts to the maximum, and we identify materials or coatings or processes that allow these engines to produce more power or run more efficiently without having mechanical problems. That technology then shows up in the production cars that are on the streets. So that's one of the reasons why we have the support we do and what we do. So there is a connection between what we do and what everybody that listens to your show drives, and the things that we're doing today, they'll be seeing very shortly.
Andrew Randolph, Technical Director for Earnhardt Childress Racing. Andy, always great to have you in the house. Thank you, and the best of luck to you and your team this weekend.
Great to talk to you. Thank you, Bobby, and same to you and all your listeners. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, folks, I didn't want to put Andy on the spot, but I will tell you there are some secrets that he has. I've actually asked him in a face-to-face meeting before about cylinder wall finish, and I will tell you this, the rocker arms that his team designed are not visible. They are melted down after their life expectancy and not sold, whereas other parts can be. What an interesting individual, and what a great process. So what's next? Well, just in the queue is Shad Balch from General Motors and Chevrolet. Let's see what he has to say. Don't touch that dial. Being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can strain your automobile. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Winter means shorter days and longer nights. It's a great time to make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly, and don't forget to make sure your headlights are properly aimed. This item is often overlooked. The best way to warm up your engine in the winter is to drive gently at the start. Make sure your ice scraper and snow brush are accessible, and replenish your emergency kit. Jumper cables, a flashlight, blankets, extra clothes, bottled water, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit with any medication that may be needed. It may seem like a lot, but better safe than sorry. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Call with your car questions at 888 Car Clinic. On the Car Clinic hotline with us now is Shad Balch, Western Region Communications for Chevrolet. Shad's bringing us General Motors news from the Dallas-Fort Worth Auto Show. Shad, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Let's share with our Car Clinic listeners first and the viewers how Chevrolet has been transforming its crossover lineup over the past 12 months, with the crossover segment still red hot, and what Chevrolet is bringing to the market in 2018.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting time in the crossover segment. It's the fastest growing segment in the automobile industry. People are moving away from traditional sedans and opting up for larger, more utilitarian crossovers. So in order to meet these needs, Chevrolet has come out with about 3 new product trim lines to accommodate what customers want. Basically, more ability to haul kids, haul people,
all activities in the back of their vehicle. Just a little bit more space and utilitarian from a sedan.
Well, Shad, the Equinox has been a top-selling vehicle, as I understand, for Chevrolet, with nearly 2 million sold. 2018 brings the introduction of a diesel option. Tell us about the new Equinox and the diesel entry.
Yeah, you're right. And in fact, it's the first small-size crossover to offer a diesel engine. And, it's what our customers want. With diesel, we've sort of gotten over the misconceptions about what diesel engines used to be like. And now the technology has advanced so much that you're able to get a lot of power and performance out of these small engines with amazing fuel economy. So whereas before, if you were to move up from a sedan into a crossover, you sometimes had to compromise on fuel economy. But this new diesel motor, which is also available in our new Chevy Traverse, the Chevy Traverse RS, which we just unveiled, that is a new offering for customers to give them what they need in terms of power and performance, but without compromising any fuel economy.
On the hotline with us now is Shad Balch, Western Region Communications for Chevrolet. So, Shad, you talked about the Traverse. Give us a little more information about the versatility of that vehicle.
The Traverse is an amazing vehicle for us, and when you look at the opportunity, the sort of like the MSRP price point of Traverse, that segment goes anywhere from $30,000 up to $53,000. So in the past, we've been able to meet customers' demands with the higher volume, lower MSRP. But to accommodate those customers who want a little bit more in their crossover, we've introduced 3 new trim lines, the RS, the Red Line, and the High Country. And these are sort of at the top end of the spectrum for this segment, and they come loaded with content. I mean, they all have Wi-Fi in the car. They have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, all the safety features that you can imagine, lane keep assist, rear cross traffic alert, teen driver systems. So the idea is to outfit the already hot-selling crossover to take it up to a new level so that higher-end customers can get what they want out of this vehicle. And it's leading the charge for us. In fact, in Texas, which is what we're focusing on now, it has helped us gain market share in all of our key markets there. It's just we can't build these cars fast enough.
Well, that's a good thing. Let's shift one last gear. We've heard about Teen Driver and Family Link for an added peace of mind for parents and young drivers. Tell us how these systems work, and are they available across the Chevrolet lineup?
They are. They're going to be spread out across the Chevrolet lineup, and what it is, it's a technology for parents. So it allows a parent to hand over the keys to their car to their kids, and when the kids return back, there is a sort of like a report card that the car displays for the parent that shows sort of the driving behaviors, whether or not the child or the kid was speeding in the car, if they had to slam on the brakes, if there were any collision alerts that were triggered in the car. It also allows the parent to set a maximum volume in the car so they can't be blasting the stereo and get distracted from driving. And it also, this enables the parent to have a conversation about their kids, about their specific driving habits. And it also activates every safety feature in the car so you can't turn anything off when the child is driving the vehicle. So it's a peace of mind for parents, but also allows them to teach and instruct their kids about safe driving behind the wheel.
Well, definitely communication is key there, and when you have a report card, as you said, available, there can be some serious communication that will only make not only a teen driver safer, but also make the parent more aware and, as you said, more communicative with their own kids. One last question, Shad Balch, Western Region Communication for Chevrolet. Shad, give us a website so our Car Clinic listeners and viewers can get more information about all the new 18 Chevrolet lineup.
Yes, please visit www.chevrolet.com. And don't miss the new Corvette ZR1 as well. That new monster we debuted at the Los Angeles Auto Show last November, and it'll be coming out later this year. And it's a 750 horsepower beast.
Now you're talking my language. Shad, thanks so much for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thanks, Bobby. Always a pleasure talking to you.
So from Daytona to New York and then to Detroit and all places in between, it's really exciting to me, folks, because I get, and a lot of times I'll get this from individuals that I speak with and communicate with during the week as we decide, our guest list and those sorts of things that you do in broadcast world. But it's really interesting that you can glean some information and it's kind of fun. And I've actually tried to trick some of these folks into telling me within a conversation, like you and I have conversations, some interesting facts and some techniques that are used, and occasionally it just comes out, it pops out. I have to say, Shad did, as he talked about, Big Brother. We didn't really call it that, but that's what it is. However, I can remember when I first learned to drive, and I was a teenager, how I drove and how I would have driven if I had known that my parents knew how I was driving before I crashed, and we all had that, I'm sure. I think I would have been a safer driver and a better driver. And I know that I would have communicated better with my parents because I always had to communicate after the fact if I did have a crash. And I've had my share of little fender benders along the way. Let's open the phones for your questions, and I've got some information for you about buying, what's the best new car to buy, or the top cars to buy new. Hannah will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. That's 227-2546. If you have a question, meantime, gas prices, I'll get to that. But first, here's a rank by percentage. I can do percentage difference new over used, or dollar, put a dollar sign on it too. But the 9 cars that have the smallest changes in price are popular models, and they're almost exclusively pickup trucks and SUVs. Doesn't surprise me. And just this week we had a gentleman in, a local business owner here in Pensacola, Bagel Heads actually, who has a challenge with a transmission in his truck. And we were helping him. Well, actually, he has to make the decision. That's ultimately his decision, your decision to repair your automobile or to trade it. And then if you trade it, do you buy a new car? Do you buy a used car? In other words, do you bite a bullet and repair your automobile, or do you bite a bigger bullet and trade it off, and or trade it in, or sell it outright? So that's where the issue comes in. The problem that we all face, and let me know if you've had this face. You've got an automobile that has a major catastrophe. I mean, obviously it needs a water pump or brakes or tires or alternator, battery, even an air conditioner that can be $1,000 plus $1,500 sometimes. That's a bullet, but it's not the kiss of death, and it won't put you in the poorhouse. But if you spend $2,000 on your existing automobile, and then a month later you spend another $2,000, and then a week later you spend another $500, that car ends up staying in my garage more than it stays in yours or in your local garage across the nation, wherever you live. Then you have to make the decision. Hopefully you can have a rapport and a communication with a local service shop that can help steer you when your car starts to go south. And you say, well, how is that possible? Because the shop's just going to sell me whatever I need. Well, that's not a shop that has been in business like ours 47 years, or not a shop in your neck of the woods that wants your business to repeat. We help people make decisions like that based on how we look after the repair. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you pay us $2,000 to repair your automobile, and you're back in a week later with another $2,000, and then you're back in with another issue that came out of the blind side, which a lot of times that happens, then we're really not doing our job, because we need to help extend the life of that car. Now, get this. You can either drive the car and drive all the new off of your car until it doesn't go, and then bite that bullet. And if you drive the car long enough that it's in need of has a lot of issues, then you can spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on that vehicle, but it will not make that car new again. It will only get that car back up and running and sort of healthy, but you'll never know if it's healthy. So what's the answer? Well, the answer, in my experience, is that you maintain that automobile. But to maintain that automobile doesn't mean changing the oil and filter. I mean, that's about the biggest nit. Although changing oil and filter is very important, it is the biggest nit under the umbrella of maintenance, because there are multiple fluids in the car: the cooling system, the power steering system, of course the engine oil, if it's a 4x, the transfer case, the differential, the transmission fluid, brake fluid. So you see, all of those lifebloods of the car keep it cool, keep it lubricated, stop when you want to stop, and go when you want to go. And so for that end, and even the fuel filters. So those are the kind of things that you need to know so that you keep your car. Now, what does it cost to maintain a car? Well, it depends on your kind of driving and the car you drive, and the basic structure of the car. I can plug Toyota. I don't drive a Toyota, but I can plug Toyota. Toyota always delivers. They make great cars. Honda, they make great cars. The challenge with those cars is that you buy that up front. And speaking of that, let's talk about the top cars to buy new. And this is by ranking. Number one, there's a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. And the percentage of difference new cost over used is 8.9%. Now that's amazing. That's $3,199, $3,200. So if you go out and buy a used Jeep Unlimited, you're going to save $3,200. It's almost not worth buying a used one. But it sure is great to know that if you buy a new one, you're not going to roll it over the curb and take delivery of it and lose 30%, which is the norm. Number two is the Toyota, there you go, Toyota Tacoma at 10.4% or $3,300. And I'll be darned, number three is a Toyota 4Runner at 12.7% or $4,600. Number four is a Nissan Frontier. See, notice that's a truck now. At 13.3% or $3,180. Number five, a Honda Pilot at $4,800. Now that means that the $4,800 is the difference between a used Honda Pilot and a brand new one. So if you want to sit in that brand new, great smell, brand new automobile, you got to pay $5,000 more, and when you drive it a week, it's going to lose $4,800. I mean, but at least you enjoyed that first week or that first year, whatever. Number six, Chevrolet Colorado. That's very interesting. Notice that's a truck too. Honda HR-V. And then number eight, back to the Jeep family, is a Jeep Renegade at $2,897. And number nine, and I don't know if you can guess number nine or not, this is the one that's advertised on television as a lot of love. So yeah, it's a Subaru. In this case, it's a WRX, which is about $4,115 difference new over used. Now, what's the overall average? Because the highest dollar rate that I quoted here is $4,800, and that was for a Honda Pilot. But these average out, I didn't do the math on these figures, but these 9 vehicles probably average out about less than $4,000, probably just under $4,000. The overall average new versus used is over $7,600. So it's really interesting to me to look at what the value of a used car is. And to that end, and I mentioned about repairs of your car, when you repair your car and you know the condition of your used car, and you say, well, gosh, it's going to take $5,000 to fix this used car because it's a major problem, you can consider that you're buying your car back. It's already paid for, versus buying another used car. Could you spend that $5,000 and buy another used car and know the history of that car? No. So if you know that your car, and you should, know the history of your car, and you should, then you can spend that $5,000, and in essence, you'll be buying your own car back. And so as a result, when you buy your car back, you already know that you got this new widget that's, it's a big widget for $5,000, but at least you know the condition of the other areas of that automobile. That makes sense? Hope it does. We've got another great hour coming up for you today. And just remember, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, right here from the center of the automotive universe, we come to you, answer your car questions. We have great guests on, and if you'd like to hear from we should get Elon Musk on the air. That would be a That would be a real coup. We should do that. Well, why don't we? Well, one of these days, I just may. In the meantime, great hour. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST technology, or high-energy solvent technology. The combination of HEST and powerful detergents help maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. Here's another testimonial. Kevin's weekend car, his Porsche, was making a coughing noise and generating a backfire upon startup. Within 2 weeks of using just one can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, the problem was gone. Learn more about Berryman product and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Martin White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join me. So, ride along with me this hour, and we'll talk cars. We had a very interesting first hour to today's broadcast. We had reports from Daytona, and over the month of February, we have several of those from Terry and Terry Sabiston, who is the motorsports director for our affiliate there. And I enjoy sharing that information with you. If you're not fortunate enough to be able to get to go to the races, then you can at least know what's going on. And then we also had Dr. Randolph, and Andy Randolph is the director of engine architecture for Earnhardt Childress Racing. And he's a brilliant guy. He's a genius, and he's a PhD in all things engine and related, knows fuels and oils. And I wish I could get into his mind and bring that to my car and to my customers' cars. But eventually, what goes on in the racing world does find its way to street automobiles. That was one of our points and one of the points that he made. So it's a great Saturday. I hope that you've had a great week. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this morning in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts, where you're guaranteed to get the everyday low price on the parts you need. O'Reilly Auto Parts will match any local auto parts store's price on any like item. O'Reilly Auto Parts has the parts you need at guaranteed low prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries, including which vehicles are the best candidates for this type of battery. Let's hear from Joe.
Well, there are many different types of everyday vehicles that could be a good candidate, from soccer moms to landscape vehicles to different types of hot rods that really would work well with an AGM battery. Many of these vehicles include extensive electrical features, which really place greater emphasis on the demand for the battery. Additionally, if you purchase aftermarket accessories, such as infotainment systems or even lights, you may require a more advanced battery, such as our AGM. Lastly, where and how you drive your vehicle can really impact the battery performance. So for example, if you live in a climate that gets really hot or cold during our summers or winters, our AGM battery will perform better than standard flooded batteries under these conditions.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's cars. Learn more at autobatteries.com. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have the money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. For example, heater core leaks are an expensive repair and can cost up to $1,000. These sorts of leaks often happen on vehicles that really aren't worth the price of the repair. Your choice is to spend the money or junk the car. Now, there's a third option, K-Seal. Older sealers use sodium silicate, and while it may stop the leak, it may also clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair leaking heater cores without clogging. It's a simple repair. Just shake the container, mix the contents completely, add K-Seal to the radiator directly when the vehicle is cool, and then drive the car until the leak is sealed. Important to remember that when working on a cooling system, never remove a radiator cap while the vehicle's hot. Pressure and heat can be dangerous. Avoid a coolant leak casualty? Try K-Seal. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, folks, let's get started on this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How do shops learn about new cars? I mean, have you ever really thought about that? I mean, obviously, the stats will tell us, and the aftermarket stats will tell us that more than 65% of car owners take their cars to independent service shops versus the dealer once that car is out of warranty. So why is that? And if so, is that independent shop qualified to work on that new car? Now you think about it. Whereas the body hasn't changed, our bodies hasn't changed. Automobiles change regularly. In fact, you could buy a brand new, name it, a brand new Cadillac, let's say, and your neighbor could buy the same identical car, different color, and yours could be a serial number 3842, and his or hers could be 3843. So it came off the same assembly line, same day, within 6 minutes apart. Because I think they make those cars about every 8 to 10 minutes. Last time I checked. So what's the difference between those two cars? Well, there could be a difference in the programming, because if those two cars came and happened at a break, now if there was a difference in the programming, or say an engine, even though it's the same car, but the engine batch number X23 versus X231, there's an A and a B series. So how in the aftermarket do we know that? Well, the car has a VIN, vehicle identification number, and this VIN is the birth date of that vehicle. It's a birth certificate. Tells when that car was made. Even information as to can be checked, and attorneys use this, who was on that shift when that vehicle was made. What kind of wheels, what kind of tires, who manufactured those tires. Everything is serialized and marked for quality control. And not only for quality control, but so they can implement, they being the car makers, new devices or new parts or new programs. In fact, as I understand, if you have a drivability issue with your new car and you take it in and say it's still under warranty, but let's say it's not. Let's say you go back to the dealer and you've got 50,000 miles and the car's only warranted 48,000 miles, but it doesn't drive right. Well, the dealer can check that vehicle, because if there's a warranty issue related to the emissions, then like a converter, it's 80,000 miles, 10 years, 80,000 miles, not the standard basic warranty, because that's emissions, then it's covered. And there are other electronics that are covered longer than the standard base warranty period as well, all to do with emissions. So the first thing that those technicians do at dealerships is they check for download. And you think about it, how simple is that? But we never really, we being you, me, and those of us in the automotive service industry historically, never really put that together, because unlike if you buy a new computer, the first thing that you do is you go online and upgrade it or update the program. Because the computer that you buy, even if it's freshly shipped to you, by the time you get it, even if it was manufactured last week, there probably are updates in the software. Same thing is true for your automobile. So back to the question, how do we know in the automotive aftermarket whether or not we're on board and up to par, up to level with education? Well, in steps in organizations like ASA, the Automotive Service Association, of which I've been a member for 30 plus 40 years, I guess. The Automotive Service Association is an organization that collectively has members that not only strive to perform at a top level, and our mission statement it says that, and our ethics says that, but also we're have colleagues, we're comrades in the automotive aftermarket. Because if you're in business and you think that you know it all, and that's one of the challenges of being independent, you're almost at times too independent. I have found it to be true in my career that independent shops, the best thing going for them is they're independent, and the worst thing going for them is they're independent. So that's all the more reason that the ASA, the Automotive Service Association, is a must join if you're not, and you intend to service cars the right way, then that's a must. Just this weekend, for example, there's a MAX AVI ASA convention in Orlando, Florida. It's for the whole weekend. If I weren't here on the air, I would be there. So I want to shout out to Dana Cosby and Gary Keys because they're there doing what they have to do to train, educate, and bring up to par independent shop owners. So I just share with you from a personal standpoint and from a standpoint when you need your car serviced. Now, okay, so you're not in Florida, you're in the state of Washington or California or New York. Where can you find an ASA shop in your area? That's easy. Go to asashop.org. and put in your zip code, and voila, you'll have 5 or 6 shops. And this is a really great way not to get prices, but to find out if there's a good fit between you and the service shop without having to drive from point A to B to C to D. You just simply call and talk to the shop and see how they treat you over the phone. See if they're interested in your business and see if they are sincere about what they're doing. You can tell, just like I know when you and I talk. If you're sincere and you have a question, because I am, so you can go to asashop.org and you can find local shops, but I'm proud to be a member. And if you're in the business and you want to stay in the business and provide quality service, you should join ASA. Let's take a call from Richard. Richard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, and I want to invite all of you to give us a shout at 888-227-2546. Richard, thanks for holding. Welcome again to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Regarding some of the new oil additives that are called nano oils.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me any information on that?
Well, let's think about it this way. First, let's establish where the biggest friction point is in any ICE, internal combustion engine, and that would be the cylinder walls and pistons. So if that is a horsepower robber, then we want to make the cylinder finish mirror slick. But guess what? You can't. Because if it's so slick, oil cannot penetrate the pores because there are no pores. Because just like if you think about this, Richard and folks, if you're looking out there at our river lake and it's just smooth as a river, or a lake, or a lake bed, and then you toss a rock and it ripples, and then you give it a minute and those ripples go away and it smooths out. Well, if you took that smoothness and then you polished it and continue to polish, just like the Hubble space scope, that's what I'm thinking of now. Yeah, that's a real polish. So you fine. It gets to the point to where there, for all intents and purposes, are minute pores. So that means there's no friction. The challenge with that is the compression rings that are oiled can't grab onto and mate with the cylinder because the cylinder is too slick. And in fact, there was a product out, years ago that sold itself on being slick. I won't go there because I don't have anything good to say about that, so I won't. But I will tell you this: the nanotechnology, and the reason that you can't have a slick is because there's no pores for the oil to grab into and be located. There's no valleys there. So how slick can you get? And I almost got this out of Dr. Randolph today, and in some dinners I've had with him before, but he never really told me. But here's what I know the manufacturers are doing. I wouldn't ask him because I have respect for him. The manufacturers are polishing the cylinder walls to make them as slick as possible. Then they use laser edge and etching. And so they laser etch the crosshair, which is the honing. But it's not a hone with a real rock and oil. It's a laser cross etch. And this laser gives that pores and the porosity to that slick finish, but ever so slightly, and then nano oil particles can fill it, and you just picked up probably 20% horsepower or a 40% reduction, and I don't know those figures, so don't quote me on that. I'm just saying from what limited knowledge that I have and what experience that I've had. And so, Richard, that's where nanotechnology comes in, and to that end, a couple of years ago, as I remember, I shared with you all, everyone here at Car Clinic, about this new technology that actually you pour in an engine, or you add it to an engine, and wherever there's friction, it creates its own coating and stops that friction. And then when it wears off, the heat comes back, and everywhere there's heat, so it's activated with heat. So that's exactly, it's really interesting. Hey, I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be back, folks. Your call next.
I'm Bobby Likis with today's Vehicle Maintenance Spotlight, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's a crash course in brake parts before you have a crash. Master cylinders distribute brake fluid to wheels. Calipers and wheel cylinders convert pressurized brake fluid into stopping power. Brake pads and shoes protect calipers from friction caused by stopping. To be safe, include your entire braking system in regular maintenance. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for a wide selection of quality brakes. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly. If it's hard to stop or you hear squealing and grinding noises during braking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You'll find the brake parts you need from trusted brands like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermo-Quiet at everyday low prices. Play it safe with brake parts from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Folks, we recently worked on an 03 Buick Park Avenue with a 3.8 engine. This vehicle had been a workhorse with about 190,000 miles and counting. That said, fuel economy had slipped from 24 mpg highway all the way to 19. On cold startup, the check engine light started flashing in addition to rough idling. Engine fuel trims pointed toward carbon issues. A quick scan revealed random misfire code P0300. The codes were cleared, and after a visual inspection of the ignition system and a fuel filter change, we added a can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool to a fresh tank of fuel. After a 400-mile round trip and a second can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, fuel economy went right back to 24 mpg and idle quality was restored. Many times, complex running issues are traced to carbon issues on today's vehicles. Fuel system maintenance today starts with simple tank additives as the first step in cleaning carbon from your engine. The next time your vehicle is sluggish or experiencing poor fuel economy, try Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today. It's for me, the highlight of my week is to share information with you and to answer your car questions to the best of my ability. And we've been for like 26 years right here in this seat and occasionally on the road as well. But I've answered more than 100,000 questions live on air, and I learn something every week. Let's go to Texas and take a call from John. And folks, now is the time versus the last part of the program to get in. 888-227-2546. Please don't wait to the last 2 minutes and then we have to rush because I don't want to cut anyone short. John, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for calling.
Thank you very much. I was calling to find out if you knew of a particular software or a website where we could decode bins. I work at a salvage yard, and we use a software that does a pretty good job, using some type of technology called Smart Bin within the software.
Right.
But there's certain, components that it leaves unresolved until we tell it whether it's, this ratio or that ratio, if we're talking about a rear end or something like that. I didn't know if the bin actually coming from the manufacturers had that information or if that's just something that somebody with a little bit more knowledge, mechanical knowledge.
That's a good question. We use in our facility, John. We use RO Writer, which is a great software, and we use Epicor. And Epicor is a third party that we subscribe to. And under the Epicor, whenever we write up a repair order for, say, John from Texas, then we'll put in your VIN number, or we can put in the license plate number, and it will propagate the VIN number unless the plate's brand new in the system. But we get these updates on a quarterly basis, and we pay, of course, Epicor for that information. Now, what that gives us is it gives us that information so that when we go to, say, O'Reilly Auto Parts, we literally click that repair order and go up to Smart Buy or the Smart button, like you mentioned, and put in, say, filter. And then that filter will come up, that page will come up, and we can go to the local O'Reilly Auto Parts store electronically and look at the different lines of parts that are offered for that particular vehicle. We can actually click on a particular part, not only see the price on that part, we can see a picture of that part. It's called a smart picture. And this is something the industry only has done in the last 15 or 20 years, and it has saved a lot of people a lot of time. To that end, when we want to get the differential ratio, which is what you specifically asked about, we have to go to the car and look for the tag on that differential of that car to make sure we've got the right one. Sometimes that tag is on the differential and sometimes it's not. In the worst case scenario, we have to count the ring and pinion and count the teeth, or count the turns of the pinion and the wheels turn to just, if it's four turns for one rotation of wheel, it's 4-to-1 gear. That's what I've just shared with you is not going to help you specifically, but I'm surprised that the recycling industry doesn't have its own software, but you have some kind of software. But here's what I would like to do, and I think, see, there's a legal firm that I have in my lifetime answered questions for and testified for. And this legal firm can not only decode the license, the born-on date for that vehicle, but when that date was made. And when I made that statement, I guess you heard me earlier, that was what I was referring to, because I've been there, done that. And there's a lot more in that VIN that this legal firm has. So what I can do is I can inquire, and that surely whatever they buy is on the market that you could buy, and that would be a great asset to you, so that you wouldn't have to go out in the yard and count gears. I know that's got to be most difficult. Is that from your standpoint of operating? You're in that business, right, John?
Yes.
Yeah. So from a standpoint of operating that business, while I've got you, if you would give me some insight as to the used engines. I mean, we have a software that we check for used engines for our customers, and it's all priced depending on the miles on that particular engine. When you have a car that comes in, it's got 80,000 miles versus 140,000 miles. Of course, that 80,000 mile engine is a better value than the 140,000 mile engine. Do you actually look into the engine down in the oil cover and verify that it's not a sludged up? Because just because it's got 80,000 miles doesn't mean it's really been taken care of. Does your team do that?
If it's going to be a car that, or if it's going to be an engine that we're going to be reselling, they generally go through it pretty well. But if it's something we're just using for core and, we're not sure of the history of the engine or the car, because a lot of them we buy at auction.
Oh,
so we don't know the history of it, and so unless we're pretty sure of it, we're not going to sell an engine as a whole unit. It's going to be cored out.
So let me ask this one question too, and I have other callers, but let me ask this one question: would you not agree? And this is not a loaded question. When we buy a used engine for our car clinic customers, we also pay more to get the 1-year warranty on that engine as a used engine. Would you say that is the only way to buy a used engine if you truly are looking to put your name behind a used install?
Yes, I would.
And of the engines that you sell, what percentages of engines do you sell with the extended warranty?
Not very many, honestly, because
people are looking for price, right?
Right. They're looking for price, and we generally do our customers pretty right. So if they purchase something, then they've got a little bit of time once they get it installed, and of course they're going to have a certified mechanic to do that.
Sure.
But if the engine fails, then we'll either locate them another one or do a refund or give them another one we've got on the lot.
Right.
It's ready to go.
Well, I thanks for the insight. What is the name of your business there in Texas?
It's Auto Salvage Yard.
Well, and where autosalvageyard.com, and what part of Texas?
It's in East Texas, Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville. Well, let me put you back on hold so that I can get your email address, and then I'll do some investigative work, and I may be able to help you with software. I'm not in that business, of course, but I know people that have this specific software, and I'll spend some time off the air and see if I can help you. So, Jonathan, let's put John back on hold, and Hannah can take it. John, thanks for calling there from Jackson, Texas. And let's go to Claudia, who has a 2001 Toyota Echo. Claudia, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding.
Hi, Bobby.
Good morning.
I'm here in beautiful Ormond Beach, Florida.
Oh, Ormond Beach. I plugged Ormond Beach a couple of weeks ago when our friend Terry Sabiston was calling in from Daytona, because they were talking about driving the cars, that have that annual, they started in 2012, that annual North Turn race and,
yes.
and what have you. And so that's where that beach race started in Daytona, but the true Daytona racing on the beach started in Ormond Beach when Henry Ford came down from Detroit. Did you know that?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's really cool, really cool. Hey, what can I do for you?
I have a question about batteries. It was always my understanding when they put a battery in the car, they punched little holes of the date. You know what I'm talking about? Those
Sure.
little...
Oh, yeah. And nobody ever did.
But not so.
Yeah, nobody ever does. Nobody ever punches those holes. But let me tell you this. There are coded dates stamped on the battery, so you don't even...
I have a code here.
Okay.
ABRK. It's either a 1I or a T. ABRK.
Well,
One.
and you're going to ask me what that means.
Yes, because...
Okay.
Because
I have the answer. I have the answer. You see, you thought you were going to get me, right? I have the answer. I don't know.
but at least I've learned something, that now what they do is, I just recently had a brand new battery put in over at the Interstate Battery on Mason Avenue there in Daytona.
Ma'am. Right.
And they scan a number that's on top of the battery.
Right.
And if you can't find your receipt, if the number says, oh, it's 12 years old, and you just had it put in a couple years ago,
right?
Time flies.
Well, it really does.
And you find the receipt, and you find out the battery was older. Excuse me. It was older than what you were told when it was put in.
Well, to that end, now, Claudia, and folks, this is the real communication, because this is where the education comes in. To that end, whenever you buy a set of tires, you look at the born-on date. And that born-on date, let's say, and I happen to have this in my mind, I put a set of Dunlop tires on my automobile, and if you heard me a couple of weeks ago, you know that I wasn't satisfied with them. But the car came with Dunlops. I put the first set on, and I liked them and I love them because they're quiet. But I got 4 tires. The back tires were 6 months younger than the front tires, and the front tires were 2216. So they were manufactured the 22nd week of 2016. And I put those tires on, and just 2 days ago did I put another replacement set, because Dunlop gave me another set of tires. Well, they're going to give me a credit. I had to put my money up and buy them, but I've got a 30-day ride guarantee. So I put another set of tires on the car. Just yesterday, with this brand new set of tires that I put on the car and put 40 PSI. I drove it for 20 miles and came back and immediately lifted it up and then balanced the tires and set the pressure at 32 PSI. And the car is smooth and it drives. The jury's still out because I had a little heartburn with these tires that were out of round, and they were made in 16. So 6 years forward is the limit of the manufacturer's date. Well, I bought them in 18 here, but they're 22nd. So they're a year, the whole year of 2017, and they were born the 22nd week of 52 weeks. So they're a year and a half old when I put them on the car. Now,
I saw a program on 60 Minutes about those tires, how they do it.
Well, so that's, now here's another thing too, not against the tire companies, but when somebody, I bought these tires and you know what, Claudia, you stay right there, and Kevin in Texas, you stay there, and folks, you don't move. When I come back, I'll tell you what happened. This is very interesting and true. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have spare money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. If you've had a car with a coolant leak, you know how expensive it can be. It's not usually the newer, higher dollar vehicles that have leaks. It's the older vehicles, say $900 to $2,000 range, the cars we depend on for daily transportation and other vital tasks. If you're experiencing a coolant leak and the repair cost exceeds the value of your car, you don't necessarily have to take your car off the road. Try using K-Seal. We've seen our share of these in our shop where before K-Seal, once a diagnosis was made of a leaking intake gasket, radiator, heater core, or head gasket, the car was sent for recycling and the owner had to purchase another. Before giving it up, try K-Seal. It's a pour-in solution that just may allow you to keep your car longer without spending more on repairs than the car is worth. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. And she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. 888 Car Clinic is our number. Hannah will take your calls at 888-227-2546. We're talking with Claudia, and then we're going to go to Texas and take a call from Kevin. But in the meantime, Claudia, we're talking about the born-on date on batteries and of course, the born-on date on tires. So here's the bottom line. I ordered these tires, and the front tires were born on 22/16. That's the last 4 digits in this alphanumeric numbers on the sidewall of the tire. 2216 means that these tires were born the 22nd week of 2016. So because one of those tires was way out of round and the other was egg-shaped, and I was so disappointed in those tires, I mean, literally, I drove less than a half a mile when I first put them on, and my car ran up and down like that. It was terrible. Now, I called my supplier and said, I want another set of tires, but I don't want the same born-on date, because the rear tires were 6 months younger, and they weren't out of round. Lo and behold, there was a whole batch of those tires, 2216, and the replacement tires that are on my car that I put on this week are born on 2216. So they're of the same batch that the bad tires were. Now, the right front tire is acceptable and 100% I'm satisfied with it. The left front tire has a little bit of run out and took 2 1/4 ounces to balance. The right front tire took 3/4 of an ounce. So I know that there's more lopsided compound of rubber or whatever's in a tire, tread and, you know, steel and what have you, in the left front tire. So here's the bottom line, and here's the moral to this story. My tires were $112 cheaper today than I bought them when I bought the first set 25,000 miles ago. Why? Wow. And Claudia, so that leads me to know that when business owners and tire companies stock tires, and that inventory is getting old, and you can say the same thing is true for new cars. I mean, at the end of the year, dealers sell those cars. I mean, there's a shelf life, and the value doesn't go up, unlike a classic car. It goes down, just like when you buy milk. I mean, you know, you look at the date, the expiration date. So right. All of this is true for retail products. It's just that I think that if it's better to be transparent in business when you're dealing with the public. I do it. I started to say to a fault, but it's not to a fault.
Well, do you run into that problem with the Michelin tire?
Oh, that's all tires all tires are that way. Now I haven't. No, because I haven't bought a lot of Michelin tires. But Michelin Tire makes tires just like other manufacturers. It's not about the fact that their tires are bad. I mean, in my case, yes, I had some bad tires. But in the case of whether it's Michelin or Goodyear or General or whatever the tire, there's a limit to the manufacturer's warranty, and 6 years is the limit. And all manufacturers, and of course it's hard to get all of the manufacturers to settle and agree on one thing, but know this, Claudia, all of the manufacturers agree that 10 years is the throwaway date. So if you got a car that has tires that are 10 years old, you need to throw, even if you got a car that's 7 years old, you better look on the car because it could have 10-year-old tires. Having said that, you will not find, or I have never found, a new car that had old tires on it, because when tire companies sell and agree on a contract basis to supply a new OEM vehicle, right, they do that at a reduced price, and they give them fresh tires, because the facts are that it's 40% of all replacement tires. The public, let me phrase this right, the public and car owners choose the original equipment tire to go on their cars 40% of the time. So if you're a tire maker, you want that manufacturer, that new manufacturer, to put your tires on their car so that you can sell that same tire to the public when they wear out. You got that?
I got that.
It makes sense.
So the born-on date is important also with the battery.
Yes, but it's not as universally. I mean, you know, there's no mandate that says you got to have it, and so that's a to-do to ask your manufacturer. To ask your battery supplier, right, when was this battery made, or what is the supply date? Now, to that end, we have, just like we sell the Power Frame Grid Technology battery. I love it. And the AGM, I just put an AGM battery. One of my clients, Mercedes, had 100,000 miles. We were doing a injector repair and upgrade, because it's a Mercedes diesel. And he said, while you have the car, the car needs a new battery. I put a Power Frame AGM battery in it. I didn't ask what it cost. It didn't matter, because I want him to have the best. If it was my car, it's what I have in it. So it's a It was a Johnson Control brand power frame grid technology battery, because I know that that's a good battery. And what I did, I ordered that battery from the warehouse so I could get the latest battery for his car. Now, I didn't have one in stock anyway, but if I had one in stock and it was older, I would have still ordered one, because my supplier will take that battery back and sell it to somebody else, I guess. I don't know, as long as I don't have to sell it to mine. You see where I'm going here? It's all up to who you're dealing with, just like a doctor. You go to some doctors and everybody says that's the best doctor in the world. Well, maybe not. But if he did you a good job, he was the best doctor for you in your world.
I know.
You agree?
I agree.
I gotta go. I'd talk to you for an hour, but thanks for calling from Ormond Beach.
Bye.
Bye. Kevin in Texas, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Kevin, you're on the air.
How you doing, Bobby?
I'm fine. How about yourself? What can I do for you?
Well, I've got a mother who's 82 years old, and my father died at 43.
Yes, sir.
And the first new car she ever bought by herself was an 85 Cadillac Seville.
Wow.
The car ain't worth nothing.
No.
Okay?
No.
But to her, it is worth $1 million.
Yeah, I started to say that when you said it's not worth anything but to her, except to her.
Okay. Got a 4.1 in it. She spent $4,000 in 98 to get the motor rebuilt.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, all I did was put a short block in it, and this is what's really bad is I was driving it back from Texas State Technical College because I was in the automotive program down there.
Right.
Started knocking at 65, so I turned it off. And you ever drove a car that with no power steering at 65 trying to get pulled over? It's not easy.
I have run out of gas on the interstate, but that's another story. But I have, and it's scary. It's spooky, man. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I did, and it was 10 o'clock at night, too.
Oh.
But anyway, that car has been sitting in her backyard covered up. I pull it out every now and then with the lawnmower and wash it.
Yes, sir.
You know, car's like brand new.
Okay, so how can I help
Right.
you? I already have the answer, but I want to know. I already have the answer in my mind, but I want to hear the question.
The question is I will never put a 4.1 in. Can I convert that car to a 4.5 or a 4.9, number one? Will the heads off a 4.1 fit a 4.5, number two?
Did you hear the gentleman from
the heads are good.
All right. Did you hear the gentleman call in that ran a recycling yard there in Jackson, Texas?
No, I did not.
He was just on like 2 or 3 calls ago, and I do not remember the name. Hey guys, do y'all remember the name of the recycling yard that he called? Remember, he called John was his name. Anybody?
Auto salvage yard.
What is it?
Auto salvage yard.
Auto salvage yard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Kevin, this is really cool.
Yes, sir.
John called in with regard to mix and match and numbers and how to read numbers and what have you, and looking for software. He owns autosalvageyard.com. Yeah, that's what it was, autosalvageyard.com. Reach out to him and get a used engine. Do not try to build an engine for that car. Now, that you can get a price on it from him, and I'm out of that. That's not my to do. But here's what I want you to know. As much as your mother loves that car, you're putting good money after bad. Unless she's really a good driver and wants to drive that car again. And I'm only sharing with you because the fact that it needs an engine, the fact that it's been out in the yard covered up, it is so deteriorated. The rubbers and window rubbers and window motors and seat motors and the interior and all those sorts of things. Even if it's covered, it's really hard, if not impossible, to make a new old car that new, especially one that's been sitting a long time. So that's
what's so funny about it is I had an old battery that fits the car.
Right.
Put it on there. All the seats work. All the windows work.
Well, then go.
Everything's working,
well,
and it's been covered up with a car cover on it underneath the shade tree. Like I said, I pull it out and wash it about every 3, 4, 5 months. You know,
you're a good son, and I wish you well. And I thanks for.
What was this guy's name? John?
No, his name was John, and he owns Auto Salvage Yard Inc. He's in Jackson, Texas. Look it up. Hey, my friend,
I
got to
will.
go.
And,
Got to go.
if
Thank
any-
you so
if anybody,
much.
If anybody, if there's anybody that listens to your show that
Yes, sir.
can put me in contact with any kind of parts for a Cadillac, any kind of parts for Chevrolet, like 73. Well, I got an 80-mile Chevrolet pickup that was my dad's.
Right.
I've still got it. If there's anybody that knows anything on Chevrolet parts, they can email me at xyzmechanical@yahoo.com.
xyzmechanical@yahoo.com. There's his personal email address. And Kevin, thank
Yes,
you for your call. And folks, and in closing, Kevin, I would, if I were you, go to O'Reilly Auto Parts and talk to the local counter person there. Let's go to Oregon. Take a call from Lee. Lee, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby. How are you?
Great, thank you. How about yourself?
Oh, just fine. I'm the guy that sent you the flex plate off of that Dodge van, or Chrysler minivan, whatever it is. Anyway, the phone call regarding the differential gear ratio.
Yes, sir.
From John.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, he can go to YouTube and get a tutorial. But he's got it in the search box. He's got to type in vehicle identification number and hit search.
Right.
And he's got to hit either RPO codes search or what's the other?
You know what I'll do, Lee?
Service parts identification label.
Okay.
And all of those codes will have tutorials, and there'll be a couple of tutorials.
Okay.
One for the vehicle ID, which is very interesting.
It is very interesting. But to that end, not to cut you short, but I'm running short on time. To that end, he's looking for software to put into his company computer that does that for him. And the YouTube would be laborious, and you'd have to go into every one. He's looking for a software addition to his operating system in-house. So, in other words, but in the meantime, your information is of great value, and I thank you so much for calling and sharing that with us.
You're most welcome.
Have a great day.
Bye.
So and so that it's while it's good, you can go to YouTube in business. You've got to have that software available for your team. We've had a lot of calls today about batteries and about born-on dates for tires and what have you. Let me share with you a quick story about Bosch. My service facility was the first authorized Bosch service center in the state of Florida in 1986 and the 8th in the nation. Why is that important? Because Bosch authorized just a handful initially of shops to become Bosch authorized. I enjoyed a trip to Germany to visit Bosch and got to see a lot of things that were so very interesting. For example, why are Bosch parts better? I saw machines making fuel injectors. Well, a fuel injector's got a body with a hole in it and a pintle that stopped up the hole. So you energize the injector and the pintle opens up, moves out, and fuel flows through the hole. Now, that's pretty simple, right? Bosch would make 12 bodies with the hole and airflow those holes. The Bosch would make 12 pintles, and then Bosch would mix and match those 12 to get the precise flow out of every one of them. I found that absolutely amazing, amazing. So with regard to getting a replacement part for your car, Bosch is the go-to place, Bosch Auto Parts. For example, the S6 high-performance AGM, and you heard me recently talk about the AGM batteries, they're more resilient to the constant demands of the start and stop systems of today's cars and the high electronic demands with all the bells and whistles that are coming on new cars. And folks, after a cold winter, batteries can be less effective and lose their cold cranking amps. That's how we measure the power and stamina of a battery to start your car. So for me and my customers, when I choose that battery, I choose that part to put on my customers' cars, I go to Bosch. BoschAutoparts.com. Check it out for yourself. And to that end, we've come to the end of today's program. I want to share with you what a great time it was. It was a terrific broadcast, and thank all of our friends across the nation for calling and sharing their information from Texas to Washington to California. I didn't hear from California today. So next week, you Californians get with the program. And just know that from 10 till noon Eastern Time every Saturday, Bobby Likis Car Clinic is here to share information that will do what? Help you better communicate with your local service shop so that you'll have an easier and a better, safer driving automobile. I'll see you same time, same station next week. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a